Red Dead 2 is officially coming to PC November 5th. Uh, with a bit of a twist. It's kind of like a staggered. It's going to be a bit of a staggered launch for PC version. Um, okay, so let's get to the nitty gritty of it. So you will be able to start pre-ordering Red Dead Redemption 2 on the PC October 9th, but only on Rockstar's PC launcher. Okay. Um, but let's see. Okay, so yeah, this it's a bit slightly confusing as to how they're staggering out this launch. So from October 9th through October 22nd, you'll be able to only pre-order it on Rockstar's launcher, Rockstar's game launcher, and if you do that, you will be that they are giving away pre-order exclusively to the if you pre-order through the Rockstar launcher, you'll get 2 free PC titles from the following list: Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, San Andreas, Bully Scholarship Edition, LA Noire, and Max Payne 3. If you ask me, they're kind of jipping people out of like that, because let's be honest, that list is pathetic. Like we're talking about like 10+ year old games here for the most part as to what they're offering people.
There have been humble bundles that have like included all of those games pretty much for like $15 or less.
Yeah, they're kind of cheaping people out. Like you should be like, give us Grand Theft Auto 5. Give us the original Red Dead Redemption, which actually, you know what? I don't even think that ever came out on PC.
It never did. It never did.
So
the only way to play that on PC is on like the PS3 emulator. That's it.
So yeah, so like, come on, Rockstar, give us at least Grand Theft Auto 5 or something, or hell, even Grand Theft Auto 4. Like they're not even offering like GTA 4 or any of its DLC in this deal. But let's be honest, most people probably already have all the Grand Theft Autos on the PC through Steam, because they're usually on the cheap. You can get them fairly cheap. Like Ed said, there's bundles and stuff as well. So the pre-order bonuses for Rockstar Games Launcher for Red Dead Redemption 2 include free upgrades to the Special Edition and Ultimate Editions of the game, which will mark $20 off the original purchase price. Then it's worth noting that the official set release date for Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC is November 5th. And bonuses for Red Dead Redemption 2 include Outlaw Survival Kit for Story Mode, which is a Warhorse for Story Mode, Treasure Map for Story Mode, Cash Bonus for Story Mode, and 50 gold bars for Red Dead Online, because they want to get you a taste of what you can get with the premium currency, so that they get you getting more of it. So after the 22nd, so from October 9th to the 22nd, you will only be able to pre-order Red Dead 2 on their PC launcher. But after that, from the 23rd on, you'll be able to pre-order at Epic Games Store, Green Man Gaming, Humble Bundle, GameStop, and other retailers digitally from the 23rd on. And all pre-orders will receive a bonus of 25 gold bars for Red Dead Online. And it says anyone who has to download the Rockstar Games launcher by October 8th will receive a free copy of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. That
offer's still open still.
Yeah. So, you're probably noticing a bit of a blind spot in that list, namely Steam, and it is said that I know I saw it here earlier. Uh, Basically, so it is coming to Steam. Ah, there it is. So, but before that, actually, it's an interesting thing. So, Red Dead Redemption 2 is also going to be a launch title for Google Stadia when Stadia launches this November. But if you're hoping to get the game for Steam, you're going to be waiting until December. So it's looking as though at least a month, maybe a month and a half, like we're not sure when in December, it will be making its way to Steam. All we know is that it's going to be in December when it launches on Steam. So we're looking at least a month of exclusivity for the Epic Game Store and the Rockstar launcher.
So there's like a couple phases. It's like first it's on Rockstar, and then it's on Stadia, and then it's on Steam. That
Well,
order.
the pre-orders, pre-order wise, it's like you'll be able to pre-order it only on the Rockstar launcher until the 23rd, at which point you'll be able to pre-order it through multiple other systems. Uh, but it's only going to be available on Epic, basically. So it's going to be available on Epic Games Store, the Rockstar Games launcher, and Google Stadia in the month that it officially launches. And then the month after the fact is when it's going to finally make its way to Steam. So it's going to have a month exclusivity between for Google Epic and their own launcher.
Okay. And similar to, like Origin and Uplay, it seems like you're going to have the Rockstar game launcher to,
No matter what,
yeah, no
most
matter
likely.
what. Yeah.
I'm curious how it's going to integrate with Epic Game Store. But we do know how. We kind of get the idea of how it's going to integrate with Steam based off how it already does integrate with Steam by launching the Rockstar game launcher when you try to launch Grand Theft Auto 5. And similar to Uplay, like if you were to launch Ghost Recon, right, or Rainbow Six Siege through Steam, it would launch the Uplay launcher and then the game. So yeah, obviously people are going to be mad, even if it's literally only a month of timed exclusivity. People don't like that type of stuff, and especially if it's since it's a timed exclusive ish for Epic over Steam. Like, people are going to be mad about that, but it's such a minuscule thing. It's not like they're saying, "Oh, you're gonna have to wait a year before it comes out on Steam or whatever."
Right.
It's not that bad. It's literally just a month, but some people are going to complain about it.
Gotta wait for that 75% off.
But yeah, so
Yeah, it's amazing how GTA 5 has just perpetually been just like giving revenue to Rockstar Games for so long. The only game I could compare it to would be Skyrim with Bethesda. That's the only other game I can think of in recent time. Not like, there's maybe some free to play ones or something that perpetually gives some companies a lot of money, but as far as AAA released games, those are the two that have they've stood the testament of time of being able to just sell a lot year over year, and people rebuying the game year over year apparently.
All right, so moving along, we have Sony slashing the price of its PlayStation Now streaming service from $20 to $10 a month in order to better compete with services from Google and Microsoft. And I'd say it's a good move for them.
It's a big deal. It was $20, now it's 10. That matches what the the normal price for Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass is.
Yeah.
So it used to be not such a great deal compared to Game Pass, especially because I'm talking about the way things were
I
maybe
mean, to
like a
be
year ago.
fair, when it launched, even when it launched and stuff like that, it hasn't been a good deal for a while until they just recently started adding more PlayStation 4 games to it. Because there was some decent games, yeah, but like it just didn't really seem like it. Because I did have it for a while, like
Not worth the $20 though.
back when I initially got my PlayStation. I played around a PlayStation Now a bit and stuff like that, and like
Was this when you could actually download and install the games?
no, this was before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any problems with latency or anything like that, though. It's mainly just like, yeah, it has some good games on it, but it's like, you know how sometimes Humble gives you a bundle, and it has like, it doesn't have the complete series. Like it has
yes,
or like for example, there was a bundle for EA that gave you Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 3, but it didn't give you Dead Space 2. Or so there's like some missing and stuff like that. And it was basically like that because there was just like I felt like if I wanted to play a game series that or something that was on there, like they didn't have like the whole series, like the Resistance games, like they only had 3. Like, okay, that's fine, but I don't want to start from 3. Like I never played played any of the PlayStation 3 games, and that was one of the draws for me for trying out the service anyway. Like trying out some of the PlayStation 3 games that I missed because I didn't have a PlayStation 3. And like, okay, so you have Killzone 2, Resistance 3, and like it was just like, okay, but what about the other ones in the series? I don't want to you don't start Lord of the Rings with Return of the King.
Okay, I can make some other comparisons to some titles that have been on Netflix recently. They would have Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, but they don't have The Dark Knight Rises. Okay.
Well, that's not a problem. Like you can still watch the first 2, but the better comparison would be like if they had Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises, but not The Dark Knight.
Okay, how about Scream 1, Scream 3, and Scream 4? No Scream 2.
Yeah, it's like. Why would I just why would I watch this? Like you don't have the complete. You're incomplete. Like there's something missing here. Like why would I just want to jump into like the comparison I said? You don't start Lord of the Rings with Return of the King. It's the last movie in the trilogy. Like you would be completely lost. So it's like that was one of the main problems I had with the service is like they it seems like they cherry picked some games, but they didn't seem to take narrative into effect when they were choosing these games. Like I don't want to jump into a trilogy on the last leg, you know?
Well, I wonder what factored in that decision then to do that. Like, oh, it's fine. We'll just skip one and it'll be okay.
Like
Oh, maybe they'll play they'll we'll make them they'll play the first game through the service, and then they'll be upset, and then maybe
they'll
they'll
buy.
buy
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
That
something
that
like
that that
that.
was my thinking when with the EA Humble Bundle that I got, where they gave you Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 3, but they didn't give you Dead Space 2, which a lot of people said Dead Space 2 was the best of the trilogy. So it's like they're like trying
I
to
think I
bait you into buying them, you know?
I think I think I got that bundle, and I already had Dead Space 1, and maybe I already had Dead Space 2, but I didn't have Dead Space 3, and there were some other games in there too. And since we're talking about Humble, I have to say their Humble Monthly, the early unlock for November, it's Call of Duty World War II, the full game on PC. First you get a Steam key for that. All these are Steam keys,
Hmm.
which, you know, I can't say anything about the multiplayer, but Zach has said it's got one of the best single player, campaigns of any Call of Duty.
That I've played in a very long time, and it's the story and the gameplays. I mean, the gameplay is going to be tight. It's Call of Duty. Like, you expect tight, good gameplay, like the feel of the guns and how everything just plays out and stuff like that. That's spot on. But like when we're talking story, like this is one of the best Call of Duty stories that I've played through in a very long time, probably since the original Black Ops.
Well, this was the first return back to a World War II setting since Call of Duty 3, which
No,
I think.
since World at War.
Oh, World at War. Okay. So World at War, that was from 2008. So we're still looking at, it was like, 8, 9 years here. I forgot about World at War. I think, I'm trying to think, World at War, that was Treyarch, and I think Call of Duty 3, that might have been Treyarch too. But
Yeah,
just,
it
just,
was
just to say,
because Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was Infinity Ward.
I remember getting like this Call of Duty World War II uh, collection for Xbox 360, and it had like Call of Duty 2, 3, and World at War. And I already had World at War, but I didn't have Call of Duty 2 and 3. COD 3 is probably one of the wackest Call of Duties, like up until like they started, like Ghosts and some of the ones that came after Ghosts that weren't so great. But COD 3 like just does not fit in with like any of the other Call of Duties around it. So it's almost like when you're judging a COD, you have to look came before it and after it like immediately. And
But
it's like Call of Duty.
here's the interesting thing. Call of Duty 3 was the one where multiplayer finally took off on the consoles. So if anything, you have Call of Duty 3 to blame for for multiplayer being as prevalent as it is now
And we
in the
can
Call of
blame
Duty
we can
franchise.
blame Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare for a whole lot of other things, like how online multiplayer really went off, and perk systems and
Yeah, perks
shit
and
like.
kill streaks and stuff like that. Those all came from 4, and yeah. All right, so yeah.
Okay,
Other than
okay. There's also the Spyro Reignited trilogy, which just came out like last month on PC. That's also
yeah,
in this,
and
and
Crash
the Crash and
Bandicoot.
Insane trilogy.
Yeah, it's a
So
really good deal for $12.
these are all Activision games, and you will not find a better price for these games, like probably within the next like 5 years or something. Like getting all these for like $12, that's like a really killer deal.
Hmm.
So anybody that games on PC needs to take that offer up. It's
Alright.
this is almost like that Epic Games Batman game giveaway, right? But those were like freebies. This is like you actually have to pay $12, but it's similar in just
It's worth it.
it,
It's a good deal. 12,
for
12
real.
bucks for World War II, Insane Trilogy, and Reignited Trilogy. Like it's a good deal.
It's like over 160 gigabytes worth of data if you were to get all three of these at the same
And
time.
obviously they're going to add more to it too. So there's going to be a couple more games added to that
I think part of
before
it it's
the end of the month.
there's probably going to be like map packs for World War II, COD World War II.
Probably not. Like I can see it just being other stuff because, but anyway. So
Just
yeah,
like the last months they had BattleTech and they included some expansions for that. I wouldn't totally rule it out. But if I
okay.
was going to play Call of Duty World War II, I would probably just play the single player because online multiplayer and COD games on PC it's pretty freaking dead. It's almost like playing
It's
like
hit or miss, and your chances of getting into a hacked lobby are significantly higher.
I would compare it to trying to play like a 360 COD game now with like the rainbow fucking text like on everything.
Hmm.
People flying around in God mode and just a bunch of bullshit like that.
But yeah, so PlayStation Now. It when I first tried it, keep in mind this was a couple of years ago now, or we're talking like 2015 ish, probably. Um, and it wasn't. I'd say it wasn't too worth it back then. But now they've significantly improved the service. You can now download the games if you don't wish to stream them, as well as their additions of more and more PS4 games like Bloodborne, God of War, and all these other types of titles. I think even the new Spider-Man game is in there now. Um, so it may be worth taking a second look for me and a first look for some of you guys if you haven't checked it out previously. And if you don't, and it's worth noting, if you don't have a PS4, you can play these games on PC because there is a PlayStation Now PC app, which basically you're playing PS4 games on your PC, which means hey, you can play God of War on your PC. Now, Ed brought up possibility of the quality might not be that good, but
Because you're streaming it. You're definitely not downloading the games and running them
well,
on your
yeah, they're
PC.
definitely not going to let you download a PS4 game on your PC because then nobody would pay for the service because everybody would have the ROMs. But yeah, so it's it would be if you're doing it would be playing it on PC. Keep in mind you would be streaming it. Uh, Not sure how make sure your internet service can handle it. And yeah, I mean, it might be worth taking a look into. And now, real quick, the last one last bit of PS4 Sony news is Sony has called a ceasefire in the console wars, at least until next generation, by finally opening crossplay up, saying it is exiting beta. Crossplay is exiting beta and is now a full feature that developers can take advantage of at any time now. So chances are, like, we already know crossplay is going to be a thing for Modern Warfare when that comes out. But we're also going to be seeing like Destiny 2. Actually, here's an interesting one. So Destiny 2 now has full crossplay and cross save because since October 1st when it finally did the transition over to Steam. And we all know Fortnite has it already. Rocket League is now going to finally be able to be who have been trying to get this ball rolling for a while now. Rocket League ball rolling puns. Uh, they're finally going to be able to press that button to get crossplay enabled between all systems. Like so, they finally threw in the towel and acquiesced to gamers complaining like, we want crossplay, we want to play with everybody. Like, stop giving us your bullshit responses about like, oh, it's for the community, it's for the, think of the children. Why won't anybody think of the children? That as Sony used as an excuse as to why it didn't want to enable crossplay with Switch and Xbox, despite having crossplay with PC for a while now.
Now I'm thinking the way crossplay works, is that just for matchmaking alone, or is there a way to group up with friends from a different ecosystem?
You'll be you should be able to group up with friends on a different ecosystem.
I mean, like, you would almost need like separate friends lists, or it's like you have like your.
I'm curious how that would work. Yeah, but
yeah, you have like your PlayStation. You have your PlayStation. PlayStation friends list, and you have like an Xbox or.
I would say like
friends list.
I mean, technically they could just put it all on one list and just have like a logo next to the name, like they're on Xbox or they're.
That'd be so streamlined. That'd be too good to happen anytime soon.
like have a monitor and keyboard for if they're on PC. Have the Switch logo or have the Xbox logo or have the PlayStation logo next to their name, so you know which system they're on. One of the biggest problems I've heard when it comes to crossplay is voice chat, because they use different encoders and codecs and stuff like that. Like, I'm not sure how good or bad that is right now. Like, I'm not sure what the extent of this crossplay is. Like, are people on PlayStation going to be able to even talk verbally to the people on Xbox and stuff like that because of the different encoding for the audio? Because I did hear that was actually a legit problem that Sony was having, was because they use different encoders or whatever than say Xbox for voice chat. But if they're able to get it all working and stuff like that, bravo, good for them. Hopefully, when this next gen launches, we're not going to have this issue again. We're not going to have Sony or Nintendo or Microsoft being like, crossplay, what's that? Haha, fuck you. We're playing on our ecosystem.
Or they could just have, like, they could just use Discord on all the consoles. That would just be a step there. That. I mean, the way that Discord works right now, it's like you can see like what the hell people are playing already, get like a heads up on that.
Yeah, it's basically like it's basically an updated version of Xbox Party Chat when you really think about it. Like, you have all the different all your friends, you have your friends list. And you have like each server has a list of people on the server, and it shows what they're playing, if they're streaming or not, and you can either connect directly to them, which is how we do this podcast, or you could connect to a voice channel on the server, and obviously there's video chatting, which is again how we do this show, and yeah, it's. I can see them doing a Discord integration type thing, but
I just want to mention, over the past 20 years, more or less, we've gone from like AIM and MSN Messenger to Skype, which really incorporated like video calls, to Discord. Those were like the big evolutions of like what online communication, kind of works, like the main protocols for doing that.
Yeah.
Those were the big jumps. And now we're on this, and it's amazing how Discord just like destroyed like every sort of like server. Like people would like pay for like uh voice chat servers, VoIP servers and shit, and now Discord
Yeah,
has figured
things
out.
like TeamSpeak, Vent, and all these other different voice chat servers for video games and stuff like that. They're practically non-existent anymore. I do know that some people still use Ventrilo and TeamSpeak and stuff like and those types of stuff, but they're ancient by comparison to like Discord now.
Yeah, it's the
It's like
accessibility is
somebody
so
who
much
still
better.
it's like somebody who still uses ICP in it today, basically. You know.
Right, ICP is, what is that for? It's not Insane Clown Posse.
No, not.
I
I think it's ICP.
I wasn't ready for that, and that was good.
No, okay, maybe it's not ICP. The the text protocol. It was like
was it something
around
from
the time.
the 90s?
Yeah,
and the
like
80s
around
or
the
something?
time of AIM, it was like you had a number basically. You didn't even have a screen name.
Okay, I heard Review Tech USA. I think maybe he was talking about this before, and it's like this was before my time having PCs and shit, using the internet and stuff. So this was probably a thing when I was like 10 or even maybe even younger, just sometime in the 90s. But I'm just picturing in my mind, you remember in the movie GoldenEye, the way that like at the beginning before the first GoldenEye goes off, Boris, he's like in like
IRC, not IP, not ICP. So it's
IRC.
internet relay chat.
I'm just picturing this part in GoldenEye where Boris had like an avatar and he's talking like this mad shit, trying to like hack the FBI or something at the beginning of GoldenEye. I'm just picturing that in my mind. Is that what IRC was? Maybe, maybe not, but
Yeah, it started losing. It started decline. IRC started to decline back in 2003.
it hung in there then because AIM had been a thing for since I don't know, 96.
Yeah, AIM was
maybe.
there for a hot minute. It was all the rage in our time.
So let's see. IRC was created by Jarko Oikarian in August 1988.
You know, like I think about this semi often, how like when AOL first started too, and then they had like normal AOL with all the chat rooms, and they had like kid AOL or something, but they still had chat rooms. Like in my head now, like knowing what I know now, I'm like, that's so fucking dangerous. Like that would never be allowed today. But like how much fucking bullshit went on in those rooms.
Yeah.
So nuts.
AIM chat rooms. Yahoo is the
I
messenger
bet
chat
I
rooms.
bet some
and
of those
stuff.
rooms it was like half of the people in there like weren't even children.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
We're
Yes.
talking full. We're talking like full on pre 4chan stuff.
Yeah, literally the Wild Wild West. That shit was dirty, dude. Like pre-catfish, everyone was catfishing. Like
Like
42-year-old man in there.
this was 4chan before 4chan existed. Like legit, man. It got weird sometimes in those AIM and Yahoo Instant Messenger chat rooms. Like,
Why don't you have a seat? Why don't you have a seat?
Yes.
Why don't you have a seat? Yeah.
but yeah, so IRC started in the late 80s and it stuck around till like the really early 2000s.
Okay.
But it didn't really take off until the early 90s. Like it says around 92 is when it started to like become the common way to
Just FYI, our
communicate.
video is frozen.
Frozen, you say?
Frozen.
There we go. Excuse
There we
me. All right, so moving away.
Microtransactions in Ghost Recon.
Yeah, so Ubisoft pulled a oopsie. When it released Ghost Recon Breakpoint with microtransactions that basically let you buy the game. Well, I say buy the game, but it's for people who already bought the game would be able to buy everything in the game using microtransactions, including skill points, weapon leveling up, and weapons in general, from weapon parts and all this other type of stuff, to vehicles, to just gear. So basically everything that you would earn by playing the game, you could buy through microtransactions. So this egregious thing was pulled a few hours after the fact. So let's backtrack a little bit. So people who bought the Ultimate Edition of the game got early access to it, as seems to be a common practice nowadays in video games. So people began to play it and judge it, and reviews were already starting to be made for it. But there was a problem. Like, people who got in this early access version of the game saw what was available in the in-game store, and basically you were able to get everything, like legitimately everything that you would be able to unlock in the game, from gear and equipment to vehicles and weapons, to perks, to perks and skill points and stuff like that. But here's the thing. So the main problem people are having with this is that if this was a single player only game, people would still have a problem with it. Don't get me wrong. But the main issue people really had with it is there's a dynamic in the game where, yes, there's a single player part of the game, but if you decide to do multiplayer in the game, your character from the single player campaign is also your multiplayer character, which means if you had a maxed out character that you bought, like tossed money at the game and bought, you would have a distinct advantage against players who did not.
Mm-hmm. So what are they doing about it?
They took the microtransactions out of the game, claiming it to be a company error, but temporarily? Question mark? Because they said these are time savers. They weren't meant to be in the game at launch. They specifically said at launch. So people are speculating that these weren't meant to be in the game at launch, like they said, but are meant to be added in, probably even drip fed to players over the course of a couple weeks to months, like just sprinkled along as the game grew in age, as Ubisoft's now iconic time savers, which have been a aspect of the Assassin's Creed franchise for multiple years now, going back to, I think, even Black Flag, maybe, where I'm not sure how far back this reaches, but where you were basically able to buy stuff to save time in your game. In other words, having to play it less to get to progress. Which means like Ubisoft, in order to incentivize players to buy these time savers, they have to give them a reason to save time, which means a lot of people are speculating like Ubisoft is intentionally making their games more grindy in order to push people over towards buying these time savers, which can be in the Assassin's Creed games can be anything from like crafting materials to skill points, similar to what we have here, to even weapons. But see, the problem is the difference between the Assassin's Creed games and Breakpoint is the Assassin's Creed games are single player. Like, you're not bringing over your character that you invested real life money in single player into multiplayer, which would give you an advantage over people who did not spend the money. And that is where a lot of the people are having like, they're like, no, like this is straight up pay to win.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But now they're saying they've kind of backtracked on how the gearing system works in multiplayer, because up until recently on their on their websites and stuff, they said that your single player and your multiplayer character are basically one and the same. Like you bring over your gear, your skills, your weapons that you earn. Now I have to put air quotes around earn. Into the multiplayer ecosystem, but now it seems that they've wisened up at least a little bit in the way that they're going to be scaling player equipment for the multiplayer in a similar way that Destiny does. So like there's going to be like damage caps for the weapons and stuff like that, and like your armors and stuff's going to be scaled so that more equal playing field. But even still, though, that doesn't, like, they're still going to have the perks and stuff that they unlocked via the skill points that they bought, as compared to somebody who's legitimately playing through the game, which, again, would still give that other person a more distinct advantage,
Right.
So, yeah, people called foul Ubisoft with, like, whoopsie! And yeah, that's where we're standing right now, and we just gotta wait and see what happens.
Interesting.
Like,
in Mortal Kombat 2, whenever that toasty guy came up, I knew I had to press something, and then I could fight Smoke. And I think maybe I triggered it once, and Smoke like just kicked my ass like so hard. And it was like I never got to fight Smoke again. I was just thinking about that when you said whoopsie like that. It was like an Easter egg being able to fight Smoke in MK2.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's pretty much the long and short of it. Yeah, it leaves a bitter taste in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah, I would bet.
Especially since we're again, like people are doing. I'm sure people are out there doing like a full breakdown as to how much it would actually cost based off the prices that we saw briefly while this store was online to actually unlock a full character, unlock everything, and I'm sure it's easily into the hundreds to thousands of dollars to unlock everything. Which, it only takes a couple people doing that for it to be profitable for Ubisoft.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the whole controversy about microtransactions and loot boxes and stuff like that. Like, you have these, like, you have these YouTubers and Twitchers who are like, we're gonna open 100 Overwatch loot boxes today, like, and they just drop the $100 right there on live stream, and or however much money it costs for the 100 loot boxes right there on live stream, and then they just start opening the loot boxes and stuff like that, and yeah.
Which might encourage people watching it to do the
Oh, totally
same.
does. But
Yeah.
we as the viewers don't realize that it's a write-off for them, so it doesn't affect them.
Yeah, because it attracts so many views that they get enough income to be like, oh, it's fine.
It's just a
Yeah.
little. It's a cost of doing business for them, but for
And,
people at home,
That's
no.
real.
but yeah, so when you see people doing like, oh, I'm gonna open 200 loot boxes today, and they go through that, like, and they get donations while they're doing it too, like they're over the course.
They're feeding the addiction.
Like while they're doing this, like they're getting subscription. Like for instance, people on Twitch, they're getting people subscribing to their channel. They're getting people donating to their channel, and they're getting people tossing bits at them. While doing this.
It'd be like if you went to Vegas and you were like at a craps table, and like you had an audience just there for you. They're not there to gamble, and they were like giving you chips to gamble with.
Like
that's what it's like.
It's like you open a loot box and you get a legendary item, and you're like, oh my god, look what I got, and then all of a sudden you get like 5 donations, like hey man, congratulations, like awesome loot and shit like that. People just start throwing money at you, like, because you got something good in a loot box. which then, like, it's cyclical, you know? It's like,
yeah, it's a circle. It's a vicious circle.
and again, you know, people are going to do it. Like, it's that, yeah. I like your comparison of like just you're in a casino playing poker, and you got a group of people behind you, and like you win a hand, and all of a sudden a bunch of chips rain over the back of your shoulders.
Yeah, not only did you just like get chips from off the table, but like people behind you are like, "Hey, more." It's like, well, thanks. I can't turn this down. Yes.
Yeah, so okay, so here's a bit of an interesting one. So the Writers Guild of America will no longer award video game writing for a very weird reason, because it says, so starting next year, because the awards have already passed this year, says the WGA confirmed that it will be dropping the video games category from its annual awards until further notice. The main cause stating that when there is a critical mass of video games covered by the WGA in order to provide a meaningful awards selection process. Basically, they're pulling this because they are... there's not enough Writers Guild members doing the writing for video games, which is like, okay, but so what? They're still deserving of awards if the writing is good, just because they're not part of the Writers Guild of America, you know?
It's kind of like most TV shows, unless it's like a game show or something, there's required writing, and for like every single movie there is required writing, unless maybe it's like a documentary, right? But for some video games, I mean, I'm thinking like puzzle games, for example. There's like no writing involved in that. And I don't know what percentage of video games actually have like a narrative to them where...
Well, here's something I can bring up. So the Writers Guild of America Awards have had a video game category since 2008, and previous winners include games like God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, and The Last of Us.
Basically, there is a niche there. It's it seems like it should just stay a category. So I don't know
Their
exactly
their their
why
main
they.
complaint is there's not enough Writers Guild members
Okay,
taking
so
part in video game production.
here's the thing. I think a lot of people writing for these video games, they don't just write for video games. Like they write for other things outside of it. I mean, story wise, I got a feeling because someone who starts their career as a writer in 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 video games, maybe they're might not even be a part of the Writers Guild, especially if they're like independent and shit, like really, really independent people. They'd be outside of all this.
Let's see. So so Last of Us Part 2 director Neil Druckmann tweeted in response to the news, very disappointed at the WGA for removing the video game category from their rewards, a misguided slap in the face for writers in games. Portal and Half-Life writer Chet Filizek, sorry if I screwed up your name, also tweeted, I've never joined the WGA and never will. To win this award, you have to be a member. When they asked us to join so we could win, we could pay dues but not vote because game writing isn't real writing. Not like have a short story published in a zine read by 12 people.
Wow. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it's Twitter. You probably had to cannibalize a little bit. Basically saying it. They're saying video game writing isn't real writing, but having a short story published in a magazine that's read by 12 people is like why the bias, you know? Like they get, so he's basically saying like they have to pay dues to be a member of the Writers Guild, but they don't get a vote in how things go, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. So, yeah, it's kind of like I agree with Druckmann. It is a slap in the face, and because there is really good writing in video games, like we're seeing it more and more. And we've seen it grow significantly over the last decade to decade and a half, from games from game series like Mass Effect to the Uncharted series and Last of Us, which Neil Druckmann is the director of.
It's so odd that they would regress on this.
God of War franchise. Like there's so many games where there is truly superb, fantastic writing, and the Writers Guild's like, nah, fuck you, it's not real writing. Like, what? No, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like the video games are perfectly capable of telling compelling, emotional, visceral stories. Sometimes to a point even more so than books and movies, which has been a big hot point of controversy between like movie people are like, video games isn't real art. Same with book novelists and stuff. Like it's not real art. It doesn't provoke an emotional response. And I'd say, bullshit, it doesn't. I'm sure each of us has at least one video game that evoked a visceral emotional response from them.
So it's like the book snobs look down at the movie snobs, and then the movie snobs look down at the video game snobs, and the video game snobs look down at, you know, I don't know, like, I don't know,
Right.
board games,
Mobile gamers.
Mobile gamers, absolutely.
I was thinking board games.
I have more
There-
respect for someone that plays
there's-
a board game than a mobile game.
Yeah.
But it's, I mean, like, this whole thing is just furthering the whole, like, divide between media. Like video games aren't art, and I would again, I would like to completely and utterly disagree with. You are entitled to your opinion, but it is wrong.
Yeah. But I think that's like in everything right now is like video games are on the rise in so many ways, shapes, and forms that not everyone, especially if you're older and you're like, you know, old school, you're not really accepting of it. You're more like, no, like real sports, football, or real writing, like movies. Like, so it's not real to them, but I
But at the
disagree.
same time, I challenge anybody who says like video games aren't art or video games can't evoke an emotional, visceral,
Mm.
physical response. I dare any of them to play like the opening sequence of the first Last of Us game and not tear up at least a little bit.
Have no soul.
Because legit, like using this as an example, like the opening sequence of The Last of Us is superbly well done, and it's just like it is. It evokes like a really emotional, visceral response from people, like seeing his daughter get shot and die in his arms and stuff like that, and it's after trying to escape a town being that's basically collapsing around them because the bad shit's going down, you know, and the military's coming in and trying to eradicate it, and a military man's the one who opens fires on them, like because they have orders like nobody's allowed to leave the infected zone and stuff like that, and they have no idea what's going on. Joel and his daughter have no idea what's going on because like they just woke up in the middle of the night to all this craziness going on, you know?
Well, something I could say about old people who don't play video games. You say, well, if they played this and that, they wouldn't know how to use a controller. Like they would need to watch
Well,
someone
even
else play it.
even so, yeah, have like watch somebody play it, like
Right. Just watch it.
because
Like a no nonsense playthrough.
like no commentary, no nothing, just like somebody.
Just point A to point B, maybe looking around because sometimes there's like stuff to pick up and you can read stuff.
Yeah, like they experience the world a little bit, like wander around, read some notes and stuff like that, and no nonsense, no commentary, no nothing, just experiencing it, and
With cinematic cutscenes in there too.
with all the cutscenes and stuff like that. And,
Yeah, as if it was like a movie. I get like you're
Yeah.
an interactive, but they're not interacting movie.
but like that, like, and then be like, this is a video game. This happens in a video game. Like that, like, yes, it's true. Not all video games are like this. Some games are like Enter the Gungeon and Binding of Isaac. Some games are. Some games are like Untitled Goose Game, where you're screwing around and stuff like that, or like Katamari Damacy, where you're rolling up sumo wrestlers
Or
to create a planet or a star.
Goat Simulator.
Goat Simulator, yeah.
Goat Simulator and Tetris. What is
Yeah.
the story of Tetris? Why are these blocks falling? Nobody knows.
It's a construction site gone wrong.
It's a horror story, really.
uh, you know, I actually saw something about Tetris, and it's like the one thing. If Tetris teaches you anything, it's that when you fit in, you disappear.
Oh,
Ooh.
that's pretty deep.
But yeah, so
And when you don't fit in, you break. Like the game ends. Game over.
Basically, damned if you do, damned if you don't.